I want to share with you something that God is teaching me today. Because I know a lot of you, you have families. I lived by myself for a very long time, so this didn't have the opportunity to come up in as many ways. But it is something that's coming up now that I'm staying here with my children until I am done with this. And this has to do with our personal accountability, our personal discipline, our personal organization, being accountable to do our own work on a daily basis. Otherwise, we're going to start affecting other people. Now, I know that it's going to kind of seem like a no-brainer, but in action, I want you to think about what this looks like in action. I've been watching my son as he's been working with God, and God has been working with him to discipline him and organize him as a business owner as he's starting this business, and how he's shared with us that he feels, for example, God telling him that he needs to wake up earlier, do his journaling, and have his time with God, which means, this is a family that has a 6-month-old baby and a 2-year-old toddler. It's very difficult to be organized and to be starting a business with a 6-month-old baby and a 2-year-old toddler, especially because my children are very active with their babies. The TV is not on. They don't send their children away to daycare. They don't use technology to babysit their children. They are actively involved with their children. Both of them. Not like one is doing it and the other is not. Both of them are active with their children all day long. They are actual parents. And knowing that, when I came here as a grandmother and as a mother, I wanted to take some of the burden off, and I have had a tendency in the past to overstep my boundaries and start taking care of things that are not my responsibility. And what ends up happening is that I burn myself out, and this is the consequence that God sends me, because I start stepping into the position of idol. We don't tend to think of overstepping our boundaries as idolatry, but it is. God hasn't given my children more responsibilities than they're able to handle. He's given them exactly the amount of responsibilities that he has deemed necessary in order to build them and teach them. And I'm watching him discipline them into understanding how they need to walk in that. And this is what I've been seeing him do with my son, where even though at night, this is the time that we have to convene as, just adults, and to talk about things that God's teaching us, and to talk about, what are we seeing happening in the world, whatever it is. My son has been saying, okay, it's time for me to go to bed, and so he's getting to sleep at a reasonable hour, and then he's waking up early and starting his day with God. Now, when you're doing this, you're setting an example. You're not only are you being built the way that God is building you, but you're also setting an example for other people, and you're setting the tone of the house. You're doing your part to set a tone in your house through example and through the fruit that God is bearing in you. Now, a lot of us anyway, when God calls us to himself, we say things like, use me, use me. But we don't realize that the ways he's going to use us is by building us first, by us doing that hard work. And then through that fruit and through that example, that's what he's going to use. That's what he uses. He uses testimony. We are raised as witnesses. But a lot of times what we mean is a very worldly definition of what that looks like. Oh, give me the credentials, give me the authority, anoint me, and I'll go out and speak what you want me to speak. That isn't what God uses, guys. He's going to use the testimony that he has built in us first, so that we're actually going to be broken and crushed and formed. Then he's going to use that. And so in part, what God has been talking with me about is this concept of defilement and contagion, that when you are defiled, when you are contagious, and you keep living that out in front of people, for example, and you may not think that this is contagious, but when you are disorganized, when you are messy and undisciplined and unaccountable and unclean, you start to get that onto others. If you want to be used by God, You want to be used, remember the order of things. He's going to heal you first. Then he's going to teach you to walk in the accountability, in the authority, in the trust that he has given you. Then, if you've done well with the trusts he's given you, you'll be given more trusts. And you'll be given those trusts to serve in his house. And that will be a requirement in order for you to be saved. Because you are not going to be a priest in his house if you haven't done well with your own house. And so, we need to understand the power of our example, of our lived testimony, and also the contagion of when we are not being accountable to do the work that God requires on a daily basis of receiving our daily bread, his ministry, not food, his daily bread. He is the bread of life. Receiving his ministry on a daily basis, becoming a changed individual, being disciplined by God, becoming that new creation, and having him be the compass. He's got to be the compass. Here's what I mean by that. I'm living in somebody else's house. I'm living on somebody's couch. I don't have space. I'm in my grandson's room right now, and my children have been really gracious about creating space and taking the kids out and going on family outings and things like that, so that I have this space to be able to do the videos and sit and journal. And we all are very respectful of when one of us needs to sit down with God and do that work. We're all in agreement around that. But there are challenging circumstances, right? Like, I'm on a couch in a living room, so it is pretty difficult to live in that way and make time for yourself and be in your regular routine with God. My routine previously was that I would get up and I would sit with God all day. But there was no one else in my house either. And so now what happens is that I wake up and I go and do my, cleanup routine and stuff like that, wash my face and whatever else. And then immediately when I walk out, my grandson's like, "Grandma, want to play cars? Grandma, want to do this? Grandma, want to do that?" And of course, as a grandmother, I'm like, "Of course I do, sweetheart. I don't want to say no, or I need to go do this to that sweet little boy." But you can easily get into a bad pattern if you're doing that. And so what ends up happening is that I can then place my grandchild before God, and anything that you place before God becomes your idol, doesn't it? God has taught me that I cannot start my day without him, that I have to go to him first, and I can't make any kind of concession or excuse for changing what God has taught me is absolutely necessary. Now, if I change that up, it's going to defile me, right? That may seem like a small thing, but if I set my grandchild up as an idol before God, and he is what is dictating my day, what's going to happen? I'm going to be defiled, and now I've brought defilement into my children's home, and now that is the example that I'm setting, and that is the lived testimony that I'm living out. And so God is refining me. He is bringing me in and making me realize through all of these things how important it is to be clean, to be engaging in daily repentance, daily examination, daily change, being changed, being purified, made spotless, and refined. So I need to be clean, I need to be organized, I need to be disciplined, and I need to be accountable. And that needs to happen in him. And a lot of times what we do is we have a partner or whatever, person that we're living with, and we make arrangements with them, and we define between two human beings what this is going to look like, rather than going to God first and letting God be the compass, letting him be the one who is directing our paths, who is disciplining us, who's cleaning us up, who's organizing us, and who's laying our heart bare so that we can examine ourselves and be accountable. If you want to be used in the house that he's given you, in the authority that he's given you, then you need to receive that from him. Now, let me give you another metaphor, which is, a metaphor that he was using with me. If you are a messy person If you are unclean in your physical house, so we're looking at something physical in order to understand something spiritual. If you are unclean, you're dirty, you're messy, you're disorganized, that is going to affect the people in your house, isn't it? The same thing happens in a spiritual way. If you are messy internally, if you are unclean, you're not repenting, if you are unaccountable, you don't go to God and receive his ministry and how he's trying to change you, if you are undisciplined, it's going to affect the people in your house. That includes whether you are an employer and even an employee. It's going to affect whether you're a parent, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a grandchild. If anyone who is in your life is going to be affected by that. But on the other hand, if you are a person who is being cleansed, organized, disciplined, and ministered to by God, that's also going to affect others. This is a very simple message, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. And just because it's simple, don't disregard it and say, yeah, I get that. I know that. That's a no-brainer. Sit and actually ask God how you need to live this out. Please discern this with him.